Hey everyone, welcome back to AURAM'S Forum, and we're actually gonna start kind of an interesting saga, I guess, in terms of the next 2 or 3 weeks of AURAM'S Forum, in that you patrons will know this because I told you about it in an audio update. I'm gonna be talking about basically how comic book companies do relaunches and reboots a lot, and what's going on right now in terms of that. So we're gonna start by talking about Marvel Legacy and what else? And other relaunches. That's what it says there. So basically, I just want to talk about the Marvel Legacy thing that is happening soon, and also just talk about how Marvel handles relaunches as a whole. And then next week we're going to be talking about DC Rebirth, how it is pretty incredible, and how DC kind of handles relaunches as a whole, and then segue into week 3, which is just gonna be me talking about DC Crises and how they handle, how those are reboots / relaunches as well. So yeah, just talking about a whole slew of reboots and relaunches and lots of re's, if that floats your boat. Also, I'm recording all of these at once, so that's why for the next 3 weeks I'm wearing the same clothes and look the same. Don't think I just wear the same thing every day like a cartoon character. I wish I did, but I don't, so yeah, Marvel Legacy. For those that don't know what Marvel Legacy is, it's essentially Marvel's answer to DC Rebirth from the looks of it. And I'm going to talk about DC Rebirth in greater detail next week, like I mentioned earlier, but if you don't know anything about DC Rebirth, essentially what DC Rebirth is a, it's DC's attempt to remedy the issues that came with the New 52, along with bringing a lot of status quo changes. It's essentially a crisis without being a crisis, which, again, I'll talk about crises in 2 weeks. So far, DC Rebirth has been critically acclaimed across the board, and especially with it's sat very well with fans so far as well, which is a great thing. But Marvel is kind of almost directly copying them with Marvel Legacy. Basically, Marvel Legacy is Marvel's attempt to bring back the stuff that people love about the Marvel Universe and fixing things a little bit without hurting too much. And no one's really super sure what it is, mostly because it's not really being set up in storyline at all. Well, I guess it kind of is with Secret Empire, now that Secret Empire is coming out, but at the time of this recording, not a lot is going on to set up Marvel Legacy, but we also just don't know much about Marvel Legacy. And I'll talk about this a little bit more later, but Marvel has this plan of attack where they'll do a very big summer blockbuster or some kind of big event that will bring along some kind of status quo change in some capacity, and then instead of just continuing the comic line that they previously set up, they'll relaunch under a new branding, like All New Marvel, Marvel Now, All New All Different Marvel, All New Marvel Now, or I think it was Marvel Now. No, I think it was All New Marvel Now, but people referred to it as Marvel Now 2.0. Or maybe they just called it Marvel Now. Boy, I do not remember. See how confusing this is? The point for... So I guess my general opinion on all of this is that I don't like it, and I feel like most people aren't super on board with how Marvel handles their relaunches, because they just get messy, and nobody likes messiness. Well, that's not true. I'm sure there's somebody who likes messiness. But in this context, nobody likes it. So yeah, kind of back on track here, Marvel Legacy is essentially Marvel trying to fix wrongdoings that they did in the past and bringing things back to the classic Marvel Universe, which is to say putting Steve Rogers back in Captain America, just as like normal Captain America, Tony Stark being Iron Man, the Odinson being Thor, just changing everything to be like the iconic Marvel, basically. And that is somewhat what they did with DC Rebirth, not really, because at the time DC wasn't, their big mantles weren't being held by other strange characters. Not to say that Jane Foster Thor is strange or anything, just they weren't being held by characters that aren't the typical holder of those mantles, I guess. You know what I'm saying. So Rebirth kind of just, it instead of changing things, it just brought things back that the New 52 left out, or that were gone since the New 52. The biggest example being Wally West, because in the DC Rebirth one-shot, the one that kicked off everything, the large, like, surface level point of that book was that Wally West is coming back to he came back to the universe, and not the black Wally West, who just recently got his powers in his Kid Flash, but like redheaded white boy Wally West from pre-Flashpoint. He's back now. And then he revealed, like, oh, somebody took 5 years from our lives. Bleh. Mr. Watchman. Bleh. And there are a lot of other nuances in that book, but again, we're not talking about DC Rebirth. It's just the way that they handle bringing people back, as opposed to what Marvel seems to be just making a very big, just sweeping, nobody who you liked from before here they're all gone now, which I don't think they're doing entirely. I feel like what their mission statement is they're getting rid of what didn't work and getting rid of what is working and bringing back what worked in the past. The problem I hold with that is that Marvel doesn't really know, they really don't seem to know what works and what doesn't. Because, like, case in point, they blamed their their low sales numbers on diversity, which is just a bald-faced lie. If you look at the numbers, books with diverse characters like Miss Marvel or Totally Awesome Hulk, books like those are doing great. Silk is another good example. Those books are doing great. But they're like, no, it's diversity, so we're gonna get rid of that. But that's not the problem, guys. You're putting out too many books, too fast, with just mediocre stories. Just put out better stuff at a less, like, you don't need to put out 20 books a week. It's really concerning. Like, I got incredibly overwhelmed this week when I was downloading comics, because I have like 20 comics to go through now, and at least 15 of them are Marvel. I'm not reading that many DC books, but I feel like if you compared the amount of DC books that I'm reading to the amount released, it would be the same to the amount of Marvel books I'm reading to the amount released in terms of Marvel and DC. So like if I'm reading 5 DC books and they put out 10, if I'm reading 5 DC books and they put out 10 DC books a week, I would be reading 10 Marvel books for every 20 book they put out a week. So there's just too much going on. People can't afford it, people can't keep up with it, and when you're releasing that many stories, quality tends to drop. It's the whole quality over quantity argument. And I feel like DC has found that perfect happy medium with DC Rebirth, where the quality of the stories is so good, but we're also getting a nice handful of stories every week. Not 2 handfuls, 1 handful. So, I guess what I'm trying to say with Marvel Legacy here is that I feel like I haven't even, the whole show is rambly. Also, by the way, quick side tangent, for those of you who are going into the comments and being like, this is too rambly, find a point. That's the point of the show. The point of the show is that it's rambly. It's my forum. It's my soapbox. I'm trying to start a conversation here. Talk about what I talk about in the comments, not that you hate this. Go away. It's a vlog type thing. Anyway, back on track. So yeah, Marvel Legacy clear cut is Marvel trying to fix their universe and their publication line, essentially. Another thing they're doing, which DC Rebirth also did, was, oh god, I just ate food, so you can leave this in if you want, I don't care. Probably don't though, because it's gross. I'm about to throw up. No, I'm not. Okay, so Marvel Legacy Clear Cut is basically Marvel trying to fix in canon what they think is wrong and in publication what they think is wrong. Because another thing that they're doing that DC Rebirth also did is bringing back the classical numbering, like the overall total number of issue thing. Like Detective Comics and Action Comics, when Rebirth started, jumped up to like 970 whatever million comic because they just kept the numbering from when they started in the 40s. And Marvel is now deciding that they're going to do that as well for certain titles, which makes sense. I do hope that and this is something that I think DC could work on as well, because that big number does intimidate new readers. So I do hope that they still have, like, or I don't even know if still is the right word, because I've never really seen a comic do this consistently, where they'll have, like, Captain America number 571, and then that's just, like, in the corner, but off to the side somewhere, it's like number 1 of blah blah storyline. So just, if you walk into a store, you see this issue, you don't see the big 500, you see the big number 1, even though you still are keeping track of that number 500. So it satisfies both readers, the people who have stuck around for a long time and have something to show for that big long number, and people who are just brand new, who don't really know what's going on, and they want to pick up a book but don't want to start at 570 million. So the reason I kind of say that Marvel Legacy is copying DC Rebirth is because that's, like, if you look at them side by side, it's kind of exactly what's happening. They're renumbering everything, I think, launching again, just everything, once again, and they're bringing new things back, trying to fix everything. But the problem is, and this is where that "and other relaunches" little line back there comes in, is that Marvel doesn't stick to their relaunches. DC does. Marvel does not. Marvel relaunches like twice a year at this point, and it gets real frustrating, mainly because it's exhausting. There are constantly new number 1s. Books are constantly being canceled, never given room to breathe and grow and, like, get to at least issue 10. So many books are canceled before issue 10 or issue 20. They just get one story arc out, and then they're canceled because of low sales. And this also ties into the marketing issue that I talked about a couple episodes ago, where they're just not pushing their books too hard, and they're pushing too many books at once, so people get overwhelmed when they go to the comic book store and see 30 fucking Marvel books on the wall. It's a mess. Marvel is a mess, guys. I feel like what I'm trying to say is that Marvel just needs to stop doing relaunches. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't do Marvel Legacy. I think Marvel Legacy is a great idea. If they're just essentially trying to do what DC Rebirth did, and just fix things, and let them stay fixed. Don't fuck it up again by making another giant event book, and then relaunching for a 50th time. And this isn't something that Marvel has always had problems with, as far as I know. It started what seems like around Avengers vs. X-Men, or a little bit before that, because I know they had the Heroic Age, which was similar to what we have now. They had the Heroic Age, which was after Dark Reign, I believe, which led into Avengers vs. X-Men, which then that led after, like, pretty much directly after Avengers vs. X-Men, that's when everything went downhill. And that was, again, in direct response to something that DC was doing with the New 52, just to a lesser extent. The New 52 with DC rebooted kind of everything. Every line was a new number 1, all the books were canceled after Flashpoint, and Marvel did a similar thing with after Avengers vs. X-Men. Marvel Now hit the stands, which, as far as I know, was really, it did really well for them. It helped me read comics, that's for sure, because when I started getting into them was around 2014, I believe. We were like 3 years into Marvel Now at that point, but, or 2 or 3 years into Marvel Now at that point, but there was a very recent number 1 point that I could latch on to, which was the good thing. Of course, the bad thing is long-term readers were annoyed by that because they're starting over. It felt like they were starting over, and in some cases with a new creative team, they were starting over. Case in point, Guardians of the Galaxy, totally different team from what they saw with the DNA stuff. But, point being, that was great. They did it. Marvel Now was great. All the books came down. Some were not amazing. Some were super good. But they did one cohesive, line-wide relaunch that brought in new readers and kept, maybe not all, but some of the old readers. And I feel like it satisfied most people. But, problem is, they didn't stop. Slowly over time, they started relaunching more and more, which is where the, no pun intended, issues came in. I believe a couple years after Marvel Now started, Infinity hit, and after Infinity hit, Marvel, or all new Marvel Now, came to the scene, which wasn't a complete relaunch. Like, Oh god, there's so much water in my... I am so sorry, you have to look at this, guys. So I believe it was a couple years after Marvel Now where Infinity hit, which was the kind of, not really line-wide spanning event, but it was a big crossover event, not as large as the ones we have now, that Marvel's doing now, but it was basically Jonathan Hickman's crossover between Avengers and New Avengers. But that hit, and after that, all new Marvel Now came to the scene, and it was like, it was kind of the quiet before the storm, because it wasn't a total relaunch, it was just another round of Marvel Now books, essentially, where we got more #1s, which isn't always a good thing. I feel like most people think like, oh yeah, more books equals great. Not always true, but we got more #1s coming under the Marvel Now brand, but they were all new Marvel Now books, and the Marvel Now books continued to run. Fine, whatever. It's just a marketing thing to push the new #1s that they were putting out. Great, fine. Who cares? Moving on to, I think, maybe a year or a couple years after that, I think it was maybe Axis, or one of the events. It was either Axis, no, I think Axis was after. Yeah, no, Axis was after what I'm about to say. I think it was Original Sin that started this. One of the events started All New, All Different Marvel, which is the kind of second big relaunch that they had, where they started books over again. We had no more Superior Iron Man. Tony Stark was back in the Iron Man suit. We had Sam Wilson being Captain America. We had all of this stuff going on. They gave Angela a book. They gave I'm trying to think of that. There's that image of all the characters that they showed, the all new, all different Marvel thing where all these changes were happening. I think that was the time where the Thing joined the Guardians. Oh, this was after Secret Wars. That's right, because the Fantastic Four changes happened. Doctor Doom, Iron Man. Wait, no, I'm getting things confused. This isn't after Secret Wars. This is before Secret Wars. See how confusing this is? This is how many I feel like I'm forgetting one of the relaunches that Marvel did. The point is, they at this point, they were just relaunching constantly for no reason. Pretty much after every event, they would relaunch their books, switch creative teams. Sometimes they wouldn't switch creative teams, which would just make the new #1 feel trivial, and they started to operate under this season model, which could work, but just the way that they executed it was not great. They talked about it as being this model of releasing comics where every couple story arcs they would start back at #1 as a new season of that book. So you would have Iron Man Season 1 is issue 1 through 12, but that's fine. But then the problem is Iron Man Season 2 is also issues 1 through 12. So you go to the comic book store and you have like 3 Iron Man #1s on the shelf, and you don't know where to start because there's no clear in-between other than like going into the comic and looking for the release date, or just asking the guy there for the release date. And that's where my solution from earlier comes in, where you have just the long, consistent number issue, but also the number issue of the issue number of the story arc. So you have like Iron Man Season 2, issue 12 would be Iron Man issue 24, would be in like the top right, and then in the corner somewhere it would say issue 12 of this story arc, or it would probably say like issue 6 of this specific story arc. Story arcs are normally 6 or 7 issues. But yeah, Marvel just kept doing it. They had All New, All Different Marvel. They had Marvel Now 2.0, which was the one with, I think that's when Riri Williams came in and all those changes happened. That was right after Civil War 2. I do remember that because that's the most recent one. And that's, at the time of this recording, that's what we're in right now, is Marvel Now 2.0. And then Marvel Legacy is coming soon, kind of tying it back in here, and I am frankly very worried. I am concerned, because it seems like they're doing something different than they have been doing in terms of these relaunches, but at the same time, I feel like it's just a direct reaction to DC Rebirth, and they're just telling people that it's a different thing than the other relaunches, even though it's just another relaunch. And I think they've also made comments about how they're not going to have another event for a couple of years, which is good if they stay true to it, but I have a hard time believing that. Because even if they're saying that they're not going to have a big event, they might just have a big event and not market it like a big event. So, who knows? It's a whole issue. But the point is, tread lightly with Marvel right now. If I had to offer some concise solutions here, it would probably be to look at your line and cut the books that aren't working, that actually aren't working in terms of story, not sales, because all of your books are not selling well because you have so many and you're not marketing them. Just look at, like, critical and fan reactions, and stop doing so many events and just release quality stuff at a slower pace. And keep that going for a couple years. Give it a bit. Let people rest. Don't relaunch before people have even had time to get used to the world that you've set up with the previous relaunch. It creates this very odd pacing where all the books you're reading feel meaningless because they're just going to be canceled or fixed or done away with in the next relaunch, which is right around the corner, right around the corner in the long term, in the long game, the long scheme of things, the term scheme of things. I'm sorry, it's real hot in Texas right now, and I have not a single fan or AC on right now, because I'm filming the things I do for YouTube. Anyway, probably not much else to say on this specific topic. Wait! Stop. So, it's been a couple weeks since I filmed what you just watched, and Marvel has made their big earth-shattering announcement, which they described as, I don't have the quote with me because I'm ill-prepared, but they described it as essentially something that would shake up the comic book industry as a whole. And what was that announcement? Abso-fucking-lutely nothing. They didn't announce shit. Their announcement was basically 52 new number ones, sound familiar, that all but 6 of them are the same titles, just being relaunched again as new number ones. That's what Marvel Legacy is. It's just 52 of their books being relaunched with new number ones, because that's what the fuck Marvel does. And they teased it as being like this craziness that's gonna take everything back to the roots and it's gonna shake up the comic book industry and nothing will ever be the same. Fuck off. And of those 6 that I said weren't just complete relaunches, 2 of them are just title changes. So Totally Awesome Hulk is becoming The Incredible Hulk, and Hulk is becoming She-Hulk. And then there are actual 4 new number 1 books, but even like one of those is Moon Knight, which his book just ended a couple months ago, so that's why it's not a direct continuation. But you also have like Marvel 2-in-1, I think The Falcon is a book, and then there's a third one that I'm blanking on the name of. But they released these really stupid fucking GIFs of the classic like nostalgia covers of like famous events that were happening, and then variant covers. They would like crossfade, really shittily low frame rate crossfade into one of the new number ones that is an homage to that cover, and it's just such bullshit. I did like a Twitter rant about this. At the time of this recording, this happened yesterday, so I wanted to wait before I filmed this to make sure that everything actually came out, all the news came out, because I was sitting and waiting, because they kept saying on Friday, the day of the announcement, that there was going to be this earth-shattering news, and then they started releasing the covers, and I was like, oh, okay, they're building up to stuff. It's kind of bullshit that all they're trying to do is grab nostalgia by shoving these classic covers in our faces, and most of them don't even mean anything. All it is just an artist drawing them in drawing the characters of the book in the same position. Like, the only one I can think of off the top of my head that meant anything story-wise is the Planet Hulk homage. It's the cover of Hulk, of Bruce Banner Hulk, and like his Planet Hulk gear. And then it fades into Amadeus Cho Hulk, and it's Planet Hulk versus Return to Planet Hulk. So we got news there, where Amadeus Cho is returning to Planet Hulk, presumably. Which, that's cool, whatever. But, it's such a stupid combination of Marvel blowing this announcement out of proportion. Like I was saying, I was waiting for them to actually announce something, because I thought these covers were just teases, but all they did was announce these covers all day. They didn't announce anything like a cool live stream to bring out all the creators and let them talk about their books and humanize comic book creators a little bit. They didn't announce anything like a new event or anything, which I'm glad they didn't. But all they did was announce what they've been doing for the past 6 fucking years, which is just relaunching with new #1s every couple months. Why did they advertise this as anything different? It's fucking mind-boggling how they're not getting away with it, that's for goddamn sure. Everyone's enraged. I'm clearly mad. I'm upset at Marvel. I'm actually upset because it's stupid. Stop fucking doing this weird publication bullshit. Just tell good stories. Stop doing this. You thought this was your DC Rebirth? It's not. DC Rebirth didn't pull this shit. They relaunched at new #1s too. But stop announcing it. I haven't read any Marvel Legacy stuff. Clearly, it's not out yet. But it could be incredible. Who the fuck am I to say? All I'm saying is, calm down with your, this will change the comic book industry status quo forever. Shut up! No, it won't! It clearly didn't! The last fucking 4 times you did it, no one cared! The only time a relaunch like this ever affected the comic book industry as a whole was when DC did the New 52 in 2011. And you listened. You were like, oh, okay, let's do that. But then you kept fucking doing it. I'm just angry about this. I felt like I should come in and explain that my stance is essentially the same based on them actually fully revealing what Marvel Legacy is. It's not what we thought it was going to be in terms of them, like, publish or marketing it. It is, they are still doing, going back to the original numberings, they are still relaunching like a DC Rebirth. They are still doing the Marvel Legacy one-shot, which, by the way, is a 60-page issue that costs $6, whereas DC Rebirth's one-shot was an 80-page issue that costed $3. Just let that sink in, fucking Marvel. But yeah, they're delivering on certain claims, but the way that they're delivering on them is just so incredibly underwhelming and just wrong, devious. I feel betrayed. Not really. I don't give a shit. Clearly I give a shit. Who am I kidding? Back to just outro the video past me. He was in a happier place. He was in a more hopeful place. Not really hopeful at all, but like more hopeful than I am now because I've seen some shit. I'm gonna go get some water and then drink that water for an entire week and then come back and you'll see my DC Rebirth talk. But it's not true. I'm just gonna drink the water and then come back in here and film it. That's why you're gonna see me in the same outfit, because I don't want to change. I'm breaking the fourth wall for you. Yeah, thanks for watching. Talk about Marvel Legacy and stuff in the comments or on my Twitter or the editing team's Twitters, Andrew and Julie. They help out a lot. They're a good couple of boys who get it done, who make this series happen. Check them out. Talk to us about Marvel Legacy. I don't know if they want to talk about Marvel Legacy, but I do. So let me know. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.